Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me Sulaiman Ben Sware coming back on Facebook Live. Today is Friday, the 28th of January 2022. The time is just gone 37 minutes past 3 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. If you just bear me a minute, we share this video and we can start the program. Thank you very much. Today is Friday, the 28th of January 2022. The time just gone about 12 minutes to 4 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. And discussion today will be on the incompetence and corruption that posing the having the potential to destabilize our country, what I mean is posing a risk, maximum risk to our national security. And I'm going to present this program always with lessons to learn from our history, our own history, and looking at events that have occurred. And these two events I'm going to quote. One would be the poor response from the government regarding the Fonyi incident, and the other would be the Gum Petroleum problem, crisis, the corruption, the saga. And hence I said this, and let me say this again. Security is about governance. The failure of security or insecurity is caused by failure of governance, failure of leadership. Soldiers, police officers, and these institutions don't operate in a vacuum. And they cannot be expected to be effective when the governance, the leaders, the executive, it's incompetent, it's corrupt. We don't expect them to function the way they should be. And if we have an environment of insecurity, it's caused by the failure of governance. Because of what? The issues, the factors that make or our presence in this condition of insecurity are factors that are to be managed under the governance structure we have. That's especially under a democracy. When democracy fails, chaos ensues, and people take laws into their own hands, and things goes, in the wrong way. Undemocratic means are used in order to take over the power of the people, which I will say again and emphasize. I am not in support of any undemocratic means of taking over power. I am not. I am a Democrat and I support a democratic means of taking over power. Let me put that caveat here before we move forward. The situation we face now is because of incompetence, is because of corruption. Because of corruption, people are in leadership right now, and people want to stay in leadership, not because of they have the competence, not because of they have the desire, because of they have the hearts of Gambia in their heart, in order to lead the country to be salvaged. No. It's corruption. That's why they are interested in governance. 2, because of corruption, it ensures incompetence. It ensures incompetence. They will appoint people. They will support people. Because of corruption, people will put money into politics in order to have an outcome that will be good for their business, so that they can do what they want under that environment. Then corruption and incompetence are the main causes of the insecurity we're facing now. As I said, we will deliberate into this by looking at the specific issues, and we are going to look at history to learn from history to avert these problems occurring. If you keep on doing the same thing all the time, don't expect a different results. The reason we have history, the reason we learn our history, is to avoid making the same mistakes, is to strengthen ourselves. That's why I always like to look at history in order to understand where we are and find the solutions that we need. There's a vacuum of leadership. I know we have a president. I know we have a cabinet. But at present, we have a vacuum of leadership. What evidence are there to tell us that we have a vacuum of leadership? We have seen this government for the past 5 years, but as recent as now, they always come out late to speak to people, to address the public, and if they do, they come out wrong information, deliberate or incompetence of the information, not right for what the situation is, or they come and promise a task force, an inquiry. Why? If we have systems in place, why can't we hold those systems accountable? If we have system in place, something happened, what we do is straight away get the accountability factor out, and we can give that as a narrative. Every person given a responsibility, during the course of the time the person is there, they will either have a weekly, they will either have a monthly, they will have a daily report of their activity. There's an activity report which is keep on updated. Now, if something happens, you can give an up-to-date report. And we'll get to this. The incompetency ensures that the structures are not right. The incompetency makes sure that capacity is not there. The incompetency ensures that people will lie in order to save their positions. They will lie in order to make their leader happy. Be the minister, be the president, be the director happy. They cannot face the director, they cannot face the president, they cannot face the minister and tell them the truth. Because either they don't know the truth, they are not capable of handling the truth, and they cannot tell anybody the truth. This is where we're sitting right now. And if you look at the delayed response, we have a crisis in our country. This is a major incident. It's not an isolated incident. It involves lives of soldiers, but risking the life of civilians. Senegalese soldiers were killed. Senegalese soldiers were captured. Gambians were displaced internally. And still now we don't even know their current situation. We are now seeing videos popping up, people pointing to cattle of herds of cattle been dispersed. We don't know how true that is. We have not seen anything from government to reassure, visiting this the 𝗏𝗏 or the environment affected, to reassure the public. We have not heard from the alcalos, we have not heard from the chiefs, we have not heard from the commissioner, we have not heard from the divisional police, we have not heard nothing absolutely apart from a press release promising a task force constituted. Where are all these people that have accountability? It took more than 48 hours with agitation for us to hear something. And we haven't had anything to for that matter. All we had is a promise. We ask ourselves, what's the reason behind the crisis? Now, insecurity, or in many things we do assess the situation. We do foresee, we do forecast. We do try to look into the future by using what is available to us, information available to us, the expertise, the knowledge we have, to look for things. That's why we have intelligence agencies. We have an SIS, for God's sake. We have the CID, for the God's sake. We have the customs, they have an intelligence. Immigration have an intelligence. The army have an intelligence. SIS is present. Then the government should be informed about the activities. There are people who are responsible of taking this information, turning it into an intelligence. There are people responsible taking this intelligence, looking at it, to advise policymakers to take action, to avert problems, to promote growth, to promote progress, and so on. Then the issue about customers, the issue about MDC, the issue about logging and everything behind it, it's not new to us. It's not new to this government. And for any national security, advisors, agencies should have looked at this. And there should have been a policy, a government policy on how to deal with this problem. Where do Gambia stand? And then we build contingency plans. That's what dictates where we position our troops. Why did we have troops in Kanilai? Why? Why do we have? I bet you there are SIS details in 𝗏𝗏. Are they there to monitor APRC? Are there to monitor any risk that is threat within the communities? Do they not give out reports? This is what we should ask ourselves. That's why we deployed our troops strategically. Why? The information we know and how. That's why we deployed our force, the intelligence agencies and others, in order to get up-to-date information to help us work in a way that our policies would avoid problems. And if problems occur, then we have failures. We have systematic failure. And that's why I said we'll look at the reason why the crisis happened. I'll get to that. Let's look at this. One, we can talk about a presence of what resource? Timber. The timber is an issue. The government have been in power for 5 years. Let's forget about what the other governments should have done. One, we could have security, we could have reformed. 5 years, we could have reformed the entire security sector. Be it police, whatever, SIS, army, and whatever we should have. And in that reform, would have informed us what are the threats. Because that would determine the reforms. The kind of training needed, the kind of equipment needed, and so on. Then where deployment is needed. Where we strategically position our forces. Then how to deal with these things, and what contingency planning which we should have in case this thing A, B, C, or D happen. Then this is the way we react. That should happen first. Two, if we had looked at the threat and looked at customers or the remnants of the rebels, We should have a strategy to deal with this as a sovereign nature. Obviously, that strategy would have led us to work with Senegal. Yes. To avoid. We cannot say that it's not our problem. That's a lie. What is happening in Casamance is part of us. It's just over our territory. I'm not saying we go into Casamance to fight, but we should prepare if the fight comes to us. We should avoid the fight coming to us. We should avoid our territory be used by anybody for trouble. Then, if we had that strategy, one thing would have been part of the strategy. How do we do with the resources that is now? Look at it. The Casamance rebels are not holding ground. They are not running a city. They are not running a town. They are not running a village. They are in the bush. What? Controlling resources. What resources? Not diamonds, not gold, not nothing. The trees. We all have seen the documentary. And they are using Gambia as the route. But they are not the one exporting it to Gambia. All they're doing is selling it. Protecting it to sell. Now, if we have a strategy to say that, look, no single timber will leave the port of the Gambia. What are we doing? We are taking the incentive for the rebels. We are fighting the rebels by taking the incentive that would make them, give them resources that support them. One. The environment is our interest. Gambia, the environment is our interest. It's mutual. I'm not talking about the other plan, even the environment itself, the trees. A policy, the government could even have a policy to try to develop the forest between Senegal and the Gambia. We need to rebuild our forest so that probably the local demand is enough to support, activity to support our economy. Then I am not part of those people saying, yeah, the selling, exporting it is good for our economy. It's not. What we lose from the export is far more than, and what we lose from the deforestation is far more than what we gain from the export. How much revenue do we receive from the export? Most of the people exporting this are foreigners. They're Indians, they're Chinese, they are foreigners. They are the one benefiting, and that money is going to other countries. What they're paying for these trades are not worth nothing. At least if we have a policy with Senegal that encourage a forest management so that we replaced any tree falling down, probably we replace 100 trees on it, because of it takes 30 years or so to have a mature tree or something like that. Probably now science is advanced, they can do that. They can plant trees in 10 years and it mature to the use they want it to. But what I'm saying, they need to manage that. Then at least the domestic demand that we need, and it will be affordable, people can build, we can build ourselves, develop, and we can build our curriculum to train people to be better carpenters, to use this wood that they are sending to China or India to make furniture and sell to us. We make our own furniture and sell to them. We sell them a finished product, not take our raw material and send them. That's what a competent government will do. Not only that, we are fighting the rebels by taking the resources away from their rich and not incentivizing the rebellion. That's one aspect. We are protecting our forest. We are using the forest, manage it to develop ourselves, helping the forest to continue to serve as that. The purpose of what? Controlling the carbon dioxide. protecting the from wind erosion, protecting from water erosion. I mean, helping the soil to be more fertile and giving us raw material, helping biodiversity from the bees to other things that we need in order for our ecosystem to work properly. This is what a government should do. For 5 years, we should have policies about this. Not to wait for handouts from China, handouts from America or anywhere else. Management of our forests could have been one of the economic distinct cooperation we have in Senegal. We have a border. 1. 2. Timber. Another thing is economic. The mandate of economic. For 5 years, for God's sake. Do we think that economic will continue to exist in the country? What is this government afraid of? It's their responsibility to what? President to hire, president to fire, president to ask parliament for a budget to do things that he need to do to govern. And all the budget he ever asked for have been approved. All the resources this government actually have been approved. The international community have been given a goodwill to support reforms. How come we don't have reforms? Who is to be blamed? We cannot turn around to blame our own brothers and sisters in the armed forces. Oh, we don't trust them. We don't trust them. Where is the boogeyman? Why can't we trust them? Then we look at that and deal with that. We cannot say that the entire army is against the people. We cannot say that the entire army is loyal to Yahya Jammeh. We have seen the proof. How many people we used to see here defending Yahya Jammeh, the minute they saw something else, didn't they jump? What I'm saying is, I am competently sure that there are measures we can take to reform the army, to build and continue build our army in a way that they will be part of national development. It will be sustainable. They will contribute far more than what they're doing now. To protect us, protect our territorial integrity, and be part of national development. We can have listen, armies are to a country what the country needs the army for. Let me say this again. Armies are to a country what the country needs it for. Every army have something that might be different from the other country. What the army is for Israel is different from what the army is for Switzerland. What the army is for France is different from what the army is for another country. Gambia, we can make that army to be what we want it for us. That army can be a pathway for a lot of Gambian youths to learn trade, be from the marine to the other engineering jobs and other things, to be medical, to be other things, to be better citizens for that matter even, to be better sports people, even to produce sports people, we can do that. The army has the facilities. The nature of an army, the discipline in an army do help to nurture all this. Morocco, one time, the armed forces team was representing as the club. Club representing. Playing in the African Cup. Most of their players used to come from the army. Those things are possible. What I'm saying here is the mandate of economic cannot just continue. And you see the development in West Africa. If you think that we can determine the presence of soldiers, foreign troops and all, it's not true. Conditions do change. Factors will come in and soldiers would withdraw. Have you seen what happened in Afghanistan? Didn't they withdraw? I'm not saying we're going to fight, but I'm come to something very close to it within our history when soldiers withdraw from our soil and what happened. I'll come to that. Not only this mandate of the economic in the Gambia. What about the mandate of Senegalese troops in the Gambia? I will keep on saying this. There are a contingent, the contingent of Senegalese troops in Fonyi. If they start now to say that they are economic, let them tell us when did that change. Just as the former interior minister have made it clear that there are there are Senegalese soldiers in the Gambia who are based on a bilateral relationship that President Barrow has signed with Macky Sall, not through Parliament. I've said it before. Their mandate has to be made clear. Why? And if you look at what happened, that's where the problems come from. Their presence in the country and what mandate do they have. We know ECOMIC don't have mandate, to deal with timber export or re-export or whatever it is. But I said that we can deal with the timber export just by making sure we don't create a market for it. One. And other things can happen, other mechanisms can be put through. But I'm saying the presence of the Senegalese troops cannot be determined because of timber export or re-export. Another thing, to say that Senegalese contingent has to be in the Gambia to defend Senegalese territory does not make sense, does not make any tactical sense. I can challenge any soldier who would tell me that having this sort of position, because this is not a fallback position, cannot be a fallback. This cannot be called a forward operational position. It's ridiculous. What is it for? What's the point of our leaders? We cannot just take dictation from another country and not ask question, why do we need these soldiers here? Kanilai is not a threat. 𝗪 is not a threat. They are citizens. They are a community of Gambians. We should strengthen every community in the Gambia, especially where the dictator have used mechanisms to divide us. We should make sure those lines are getting rid of. Every community should be strengthened so that that community would jealously protect themselves. Protect the freedoms and protect the peace and stability and the prosperity they have. Their hospitals, their schools, their jobs, and the welfare and what they enjoy. That's what should be. That's what governance should be about. Not to put troops within communities. I am completely against the troops based in 𝗪tože because they have no reason to be there. Especially foreign troops. As I said, insurgency is not fought by the barrel of the gun alone. That's an aspect of it. The other aspect, or the main aspect in fact, is winning the hearts and minds of the people. That comes from information, that comes from intelligence, that comes from governance. Make sure people are happy with your government. People, you have legitimacy over the people to govern them. People have their expectations have been met or their expectations have been managed. There is prosperity within the people. They have that recognition. But when those people got attacked even, you are quiet. You come out, you cannot reassure them anything. You have not visited them to reassure them or anything. What do we expect? That's why I said the Senegalese troop issue should be addressed. They should leave that area. Gambian soldiers should be protecting our territory based on what? The assessment done. The national security assessment done, then they can have their standard operational procedure on what to do. Well, if anyone is seen within the territory of the Gambia armed, you are not allowed. The laws of the Gambia doesn't allow any private citizens or foreigner to be armed. Then they have a mandate. But when the lines are blown, Gambian soldiers don't even know what their mandate would be. That's technically what's happening. Because if you bring soldiers, foreign soldiers, and put them in the same territory, in the same jurisdiction, what is a recipe for disaster? What are the standard operational procedure for the Senegalese soldiers? What are the standard operational procedure for the Gambians? Now, this is very serious. I am not going to give ideas, but I'll just point to something. You know what insurgents do, rebels? They win the hearts and minds of people. You know how they do that? They use deception. And not only soldiers, even conventional warfare. You can get, in conventional warfare, I've forgot the terminology, but you know, you can get another country to fight in your fight by getting them sucked in. the rebels can this situation we have in 𝗏𝗀, it can lead to that. I'll have to say, the rebels can make Gambia to be taking part in this fight in a manner that we are not, in control, and it's not good for us. And that fight might get Senegal into the fight in a manner that is not right. The rebels will have a narrative. It's deception. They manipulate the situation. I'm not going to go into details, but I am just saying that people that can think can understand this. They can understand insurgency. They can manipulate the situation because you have the presence of Senegalese soldiers. You have Gambians need their jurisdiction. Let them operate freely. They have a mandate. Let them operate their mandate. They have a standard operational procedure. Let them use their standard operational procedure. They have training in counterinsurgency. They have all the necessary training. They can do any operation necessary, and they can do it better than probably even some of the forces that we want to rely on. I'll tell you that. What's the problem? It's governance, interference of the politicians, and the failure of the senior command in fact accepting these orders. They know that it's costing. It's not good for territory. It's not good for our security because they don't have courage to tell the president the truth, because of thinking that if they tell the president the truth, they will be seen as opposing the president. But your job is not to sugarcoat the truth. It's to tell the truth to the president. Advise the president that this is not right. This is going to be a problem, and it's a problem right now. That's why I said the troops needed to be, taken out of there. Gambian soldiers can do what they do. If it's come to advance to contact, you know how many years ago I did that with the Gambian army in insurgency, clearance, advance to contact. You think they still don't know that? They are even more advanced now. And I tell you, a battalion of Gambian soldiers to go into advance into any territory, I have no fear that they will clear that zone. I'll tell you that. They will clear that zone on advance to contact. Any remnants of rebel cannot do that. If it's come to long-term ambush, they know how to launch a long-term ambush. Over 48 hours, they can be on ambush and wait for the enemy, and they will do a good job. If it comes to snap ambush, they know how to operate snap ambush. They know how to operate counter ambushes. What's our problem? They have the material. The rebels don't have superior weapons or anything. Why do we need Senegalese soldiers in there? No. And if it is clear Senegalese soldiers are not in our land and Gambian soldiers are responsible, it makes the relations, the rebels, into a different position. They don't want to open up a front with us. The share of intelligence will ensure between Gambia and Senegal. And look, guys, we have to be very careful. Senegal can take care of this. Senegal can take care of this. Senegal have very advanced forces. But the politicians, and I'll tell you, even big countries have failed because of politicians interfering in operations. Politicians can be the cause of the problems with operations. That's why I am saying that we should not. We should look after ourselves, we should defend ourselves, we should protect ourselves. But I know that this government is not going to do it because the government doesn't have trust. And I said here, my last program, if you want to control someone, make them doubt themselves. Let them not trust themselves. This is what is happening in Gambia now. The president don't trust the security. The president even don't trust the Gambian people. I'll tell you that. This is what it comes to. To the extent of he didn't even trust the support from Gambian people. What will come to is scared. Now Senegal can make him believe anything. Now, when you take your security, just as when you marry a woman, and the woman take everything and leave it to your hands, that believe that you are the sole provider, you are the sole knowledgeable person, thinker, you are the sole everything, that woman become captive. You dictate a narrative, whether good or bad, that woman doesn't know. That woman become a slave to you. This is what's going to happen to us. We'll continue, our economy cannot be decided well, and if Senegal decides something different, that's what's going to happen. If anything else, security-wise, Senegal advise against this, that's what's going to happen. If Senegal say, no, don't appoint 𝗵𝗚 not be appointed, because of what you believe in Senegal more than you believe on people. Now, how are we independent? Now, so I said this needed to be dealt with. But let's look at the other thing. There's something called mission creep. Mission creep, in a nutshell, is having soldiers, missions, stay long in an operational ground, like economic affected by mission creep. And I give you, when mission creep happens, certain factors are present. Mission creep gets to the morale of the soldiers themselves. Which soldiers? In this sense, let's talk about Gambia, what is happening now with economic. Gambian soldiers' morale are undermined. Because of now, you see, it's just like when you have a home, your home, you have your sons and daughters. You went and carry your neighbor's sons and daughters and using them for decision making, asking them to protect you or protect your family when you have your sons and daughters. What have you done? If you have a crisis, they come in, your neighbors come into your crisis to help stabilize. It's your responsibility as a leader to ensure that you fix your family. Deal with the problems that led to your family to be in crisis to the extent that your neighbors have to come in and help you. Your sons and daughters were not capable to do that. But now, for God's sake, 5 good years is enough time to make sure your sons and daughters are capable of helping you deal with the situation. But you bring that neighbor into your house and keep on staying into your house, within your family, your kids, your wives, your wife, your children, and everybody else, the entire family, are demoralized. Especially in this case, the soldiers whose mandate is to protect you, to protect the territorial integrity of this nation. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. The mission creep does that. Mission creep does what if the economic soldiers stayed long. Most of them are men. I'm not sure whether they are female economic soldiers, but I know most of them are men. And look, wherever men or women are, they have their desires. They have their desires. If they stay for a month, 2 months, 3 months, even a month, in a foreign nation, they will want their desires met. Even women do have desires. It's just that women have, or our culture dictates that women have more control over their desires. Because I'll tell you, everybody can able to have control over their desires. It's not shouldn't be feminine or masculine, but conventional thinking or cultures have allowed us to make sure women should be virtuous, women should be this thing and that, they can hold themselves, and men can do what they want. That's the animal kingdom we live in. But what it does is relationship. They will have to have relationships. Now, and in society, especially in our society we have, our cultures, we are very protective of our women. And again, men don't like challenge, or men don't like competition. Now these soldiers, the Senegalese soldiers, the Nigerians and Togolese and whatever it is, they will have to make relationships. It's natural. And once they make relationships, become a competition between them and Gambian men, or and the little bit allowance they have on top of their salaries, or the allowance paid for them while they're here, they act a little bit affluent, where the soldiers are poor, the general people are poor. We see them buying motorbikes, buying televisions, buying this, when soldiers cannot even feed themselves, or teachers or other people cannot feed themselves. And now, what the men do, or other people do, yeah, you see, that's why they're taking our women, because they got money, or because of this, and it will bring what social discord and even starting to blame our women for other things. No, it's natural. They might fall for people. You see, these are all part of mission creep do happen. But another part of mission creep, which comes to Operation 2, is the complacency. The soldiers themselves, the Senegalese, the Nigerians and others become relaxed. Get used to the environment. If you go to a new environment, you are more alert. The more you stay in that environment, you become relaxed. You might even be changed. They can change them every 6 months. You know, but you know the other people that comes in. The minute they come in 2 days, they are acclimatized because of what they took over from people, and the mindset just, yeah, 6 months, nothing happened here. 1 year, nothing happened. 2 years, nothing happened. 3 years, nothing. 4 years, nothing happened. 5 years, nothing happened. They become complacent. Complacency happens. Now, they will start to have problems. You see, because when you are deployed, you are briefed, you are trained to avoid causing grievance between you and the inhabitants, the people, the citizens. But now because you feel very comfortable now, those things will happen. That's why you hear the arrogance or the fighting with inhabitants or being rude to inhabitants or being confrontation with inhabitants. Probably you're not even rude. Probably you're provoked. But I mean, because you are comfortable, these things, it becomes resentment building within the troops and society. But that complacency too do come to your operation. Now, if you were walking in town with your weapons in position, now you sling your weapon. You're not in position because you're not expecting an attack. You're not expecting aggression. Next minute, you leave your weapon at home, at the barracks. Next minute, you decide, oh, let me just take 1 magazine instead of 2 magazines or 3 magazines. You know, things like that happen. Even if you are going out on an operation, you just go in, it's a routine. You have gone through this route. You have gone through this operation 100 times. Nothing have ever happened. You have never been attacked. You have never seen anything. Mission creep happens. And now mission creep is happening with this thing, with the economic soldiers. Another thing is happening. With mission creep, the inhabitants become familiar with you. There's a word in Mandinka. Let me just leave it there. But what I'm saying is familiarity. You see the soldiers more. If you keep on seeing soldiers with weapons, you get used to them. You talk to them. They become very human to you. You don't scare. It's the same thing with other people, especially if those people have any kind of resentment and want to be aggressive to them or want to harm them. They are not scared of doing them anything. I mean, the professionalism of the soldiers have dropped down. Their alertness, sense of alertness is not there. Even the energy they needed to put to keep their fitness, everything is gone because of the mission creep. That's why when we say mission creep, it's entail a lot of things. Now these things can easily happen, and if you look at what happened with this humiliation and what this humiliation can do, I mean, it's very dangerous. We have to be very careful. What happened? The humiliation. And another thing we should think of Macky Sall as a lame dog. You see, this election of Senegal, I pointed it again. You see, when you do national security assessment, these are all things. It's not about only soldiers. You look at the politics of things. You look at the society itself. You bring all these factors to understand what might happen. And you have scenarios, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 scenarios. Then from those scenarios, you look for solutions to deal with those scenarios. And those solutions would be in different manner, policy-wise, emergency measures, contingency planning, and everything comes into it. That's why we need professionalism. But even if we have knowledgeable soldiers, knowledgeable intelligence officers and everything, the situation we create by poor governance make those people not to do their job. I have confidence that Gambians know what to do. I have confidence the army know what to do. I have confidence that we have security personnel who know what to do. But the way the government operates, they cannot do it. And I will get to that again. Now, this mission creep and everything, the lame dog of President Sall. When you become a lame dog, your policy directives become, not destroy, compromise. Your policies become compromised. Your thinking become compromised. The governance itself become weakened, become compromised because of your administrations. Is, you know, why it's a blame dog here? It's the anticipation of you living. If it's such a normal thing, it goes outright. But because of this tartan thing in the minds of people, and now got defeated, and now if it's going through different motions, now there's a lot of distractions, and all these things are something Gambians should think of. It might lead to Senegal pulling their forces one way or the other. We don't know. There are many scenarios you think of. Why would Senegal pull off their forces? And we'll come to that later too, to give example. These things we have to be careful of. And the humiliation. What this humiliation did is, it boosted the morale of the rebels. Because if you understand military tactics, 9 people is almost a section. Most sections are 12, 14, 18, depend on the country and the strength of that army. But I can tell you, you can classify 9 people, soldiers, armed as a section. And sections do operate in a way, a very effective way. 2 people operate in an effective way. But obviously a section will operate more effective way because you have more capacity to do things. Okay, now, consider the mission creep. The mission creep can be responsible, not only that because of the rebels are strong or this, no. Element of surprise. Operations is about knowing things before the other person, or doing things before the person prepare for it. You cut them out with surprise. We have patrols. Patrols we have different patrols. You have reconnaissance patrol, you have just a regular patrol, and you have a fighting patrol. What determines the patrol you do? The mission operations determine, but the environment and all the things. Okay, when it comes to a time you listen, but if there's intelligence, that's why I said there's a big failure here. That there are rebels 100 meters, 200 meters, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, determine how you operate within that environment. Then you should know the location or likely location. You should know the vulnerable points, entry points, exit points. When you go on operations or patrols, you should know about these things. Then it determines the kind of equipment you carry, the kind of formation you adopt, and rehearse. You rehearse the operation, the kind of operation that you carry out. If you have a snap ambush, what should you do in a snap ambush? If you happen to fall into a big ambush, what do you do in a big ambush? If you have to retreat, you have to retreat tactically. How do you retreat tactically? You see, if you are conversant with this, your confidence comes up. And I'll tell you, you are better soldiers. And you don't even think of this buludung and all this nonsense. You don't think about it. I'm telling you. If you are sure of your training, you don't think of juju or anything. Because you are a professional soldier. You believe in your training, you believe in your capacity, and you believe in your supremacy, and not underestimate the enemy. And that you will prevail. If you fall into ambush, means that 2 things. Your intelligence failed. You don't have the right intelligence as we fell for an ambush. If you fell for into an effective ambush and you lose completely, means that your formation was not right. Means that your survival drills were not right. Something have failed completely. And that's why it's a humiliation for the Senegalese soldiers. It's a humiliation to the Gambian territory. But because of we have seen a herd, I've not seen the herd, and it seems to be very true that rebels have been put in checkpoints, and we had to go and negotiate for them to pull their checkpoints out of our territory. That's an insult. That's a humiliation to the Gambia Armed Forces. I'm not blaming them because of they don't have a, it seems that they don't have a mandate in their own country. That's where the politicians should think of. Now, why is it humiliation? This, for 9 soldiers, they must have given up. They have much surrendered when the firefight started. 2 people killed and the firefight started, they gave up because they were overwhelmed. That's why I said the formation, a lot of other things went wrong. Systematically, the operation was wrong. And they got humiliated. Now, this boasts the morals of the rebels. Does not mean that the rebels have superiority over the Senegalese. Never. Does not mean... Look, I don't want to go into things, but I can tell you that there are many ways you can determine the capacity of the rebels, their arms and living. You can do that a lot, and Senegalese can do that, Gambians can do that. Then the rebels are not a problem to be dealt with. The problem is our failed governance between 2 countries. And one country taking advantage and being complacent, and other factors might be in. Ask yourself, who are these people, the middlemen buying the, the middlemen go and buy the timber from Senegal and bring it through the Gambia. And the ministry himself, permanent secretary, signing the document for export. The government of Gambia, the environmental ministry, the agricultural ministry, they knew, the custom and excise knew that Gambia does not have this material. They know that this material are coming from another sovereign nation. They know that it's a test, it's criminality. Why are we allowing it? I'll tell you, this is where the corruption comes in. Most of the people involved are involved in politics. Go and find out who are these people, middlemen, they're involved in politics. The other people who are foreigners, be it Indian or Chinese, are bribing corruption. You see what I'm saying about corruption? They are bribing a system. And the people who are supposed to be making the system work, supposed to bring out the policies and orders, are bribed so that they don't do the right thing. Now we are risking, you see the posing, that risk to us, the threat is coming to us because of corruption and incompetence. The mission creep we have explained, what have happened we explained. The lame duck of Macky Sall have to be explained. Now, let's ask ourselves, 1992, again, we come into the history I have a lot of feedbacks from people about history of the Gambia. I don't know, especially this is research history, but there's a lot of young people who listen, and most of them have never heard of these things, or they didn't know. What happened in 1992 when the Senegalese left the Gambia? You see, the same thing is happening here. The Jawara government failed to build their capacity, failed to govern properly. The Jawara government was distracted. Due to what? The PPP fighting among each other. Bibi Dabo, likely to be president, we don't know. 𝗍𝗍 like to president, we don't know. This camp supporting Bibi Dabo, this camp supporting 𝗍𝗍. Jawara, we don't know when he's going to retire. He said he was going to retire. He changed his mind. Now he's old. We all know he's old. And old people are likely to be not here in few years. You see, all these things is going on. Or if he's still here, even there might be a time he will not be able. Then who's going to run the country? Who's going to succeed? Succession planning become a problem. Now they're thinking of, oh, if Bibi Dabo lead, or he's so strict, he's going to do this, or 𝗍𝗍 lead, he's so corrupt, he might end up doing this, he might favor these people. You know, this thing went on within the PPP. And this thing find itself to the army. You see? And he's surprised. An angle of tribe came out. Some people started to support 𝗍𝗍. Some people Bibi Dabo. But there's an angle of tribe here. And it finds its way to the security sector. Now, because the security sector rumors, I'll tell you, 1994 is not the first attempted coup. Even when the Senegalese were present in the Gambia, there were attempted coups. I'll tell you that. If anyone thinks that a coup cannot happen because of economic, you don't know nothing, you don't understand security. And I'm not here to give ideas, but people that do know what coup d'etat is or how it can be done. I can give you 10 scenarios of how coup d'etat happen or can be happen even in the presence of foreign troops, as we can see it happening in other countries with foreign troops. And I'll tell you, and people that know, there were even attempts when Senegalese soldiers were present, but it's easier though when counter forces are not available. And this is what happened when Senegalese left. Now ask yourself, and this is what we should learn from history, the Senegalese confederal was even more deep. We have a confederal parliament. Do we know that? We have a confederal cabinet. Do we know that? We have a confederal budget. Do we know that? Gambia put into that budget. Gambia, people in the Gambia, people in Senegal been paid from that budget. People been paid handsomely. Confederal salaries was a match at Senegalese salary scale. Imagine the CFA, the power of this thing. Imagine all that incentive. Parliamentarians, some opposition members were part of the confederal confederal parliament. You see, there were even more structures within the agreement than we have now. But something happened. And what happened, we don't have time to go to it. Let's just say that Senegal wanted more. And Jawara doesn't want that more. Jawara want to take time for get to certain things under this agreement. What happened? A letter was not even written to Jawara. A telephone was not done to Jawara. Senegalese government waited till midnight, at the dead of night. Why would you withdraw your troops when the Senegalese, 95% of the security of Jawara at State House was by Senegalese soldiers? Gendarmerie. Just ask now. Not only that, they have a contingent of Ammo division, not a division, a contingent based in Brikama. There's an Ammo division based in Brikama, strategic. You know why? You need Ammo division there. There's an Ammo division based in Bakau. Senegalese troops. There's a contingent in Kudang. There were gendarmeries in different places. Middle of the night, Jawara was going to bed or already in bed, just to be woke up and said, look, Senegal is withdrawing their troops. What do you think they was onto that? The army could have called that day. Anybody could have overthrown the government that day. And you would have the blessing of Senegal. But they withdraw our troops. Didn't we fall for this thing? Now we have look, the scenarios might not exactly be the same. We might even have a fallout with Senegal, but Senegal might have their own problems. They might be occupied with other things. It's not sustainable. 5 years, 7 years. God forbid, some Senegalese citizens can be killed in the Gambia. So many of them soldiers. And the pressure will come in. Politicians don't like pressure. They will buckle. And they will say, look, let's get back to authority and defend ourselves and get out of this. I can go on different scenarios. This is what we think of when we have governance. When we look at our national security, we look at the scenario, what if? And as a sovereign nation, we cannot solely, yes, you have security guarantees and everything else, but you cannot solely depend on a sovereign nation. And it's not strategic to depend on your next door neighbor entirely. You see, there are many ways you have a security guarantee in order to serve as a deterrent to anything. And these things don't require troops to be based in your country. Don't require troops. That's why I said this is about thinking. There's a lot we can do to avert coup d'etats in our country, but it's about governance, good governance. I'm not saying an excellent government. There's nothing like that. If you want to know good governance, just go and listen to the parliament in UK right now. But it's good governance. They're struggling to get the prime minister out. Right now, the police are investigating the prime minister. That's what we're talking about. Effective opposition. holding the prime minister, get out. People voicing out, tolerance and everything. That should happen. But what happened? In 1992, Senegalese left. Now it becomes easy. Now, because of Gambia have never, ever thought about Senegalese living, Gambia have never rearranged themselves, security-wise, strategically. Total chaos. Now, straight away, I'll tell you, straight away, different groups started to think about overthrowing. Now, because of what? The vacuum of leadership. Now Jawara is going to go. Now Jawara have already said he wants to go. Now he's not going. Now, but it's likely he's going to go. You see, uncertainty becomes insecurity. And I can tell you, we were present so many coups. And do you know one thing the coups have in common? The lenses of tribe. You know, I know there are people doing it. Some of them don't even think about that's because of we are this. No, because of the mechanism of tribe being used in our systems. People, you'll be scared. Oh, I won't tell the Wolof. He might be against it. He will report me because they don't trust us. Hey, I won't tell the Mandinka. Oh no, because they don't trust us. Hey, if I tell this Jola is affiliated to Mandinka officers. Hey, no, this thing. Oh, I will tell this Fula is affiliated to Wolof officers. Or this Fula is affiliated. You see? It becomes about region. It's some of these people wanted to overthrow. And you'll be surprised. They are not only soldiers. Soldiers only don't overthrow a government. There were politicians with this. Yes, mainly from the PPP. And only once I know of a coup d'etat plot, and that was even when Senegalese soldiers were present, that the opposition was pointed at. Once. Every other coup I know that plan, and I tell you, every other coup that was planned from 1990 until I leave the source of the Gambia, I know about those coups. The mature ones that gone to a certain level, you know, and disrupted its stop. They have tribal angles, but there were politicians in it. There's a coup d'etat, we even labeled the how you call it? You know, the different commercial bank, what they call them again? AMRC coup. Because of some of the sponsors of the coup were people who owns the AMRC loans. There's a coup that was called the AMRC loans. Coup. Just tell you the kind of people, and you'll be surprised to find out who they were. But it keep on failing or this because of a lot of things. Then, because we have not prepared ourselves, and because of this tribal mechanism working in our head, which is still in presence, we start to rearrange the security according to tribe, loyalty. But again, let us not forget, because of this divide, Yahya Jammeh exploited this. And I'll give you reference to think about this. Yahya Jammeh was one of the trusted informers, a grass for the NSS, National Security Services, what we know SIS now or NIA. He was the biggest informer, political informer called intelligence. He was head of the military police. To the extent of Yahya Jammeh manipulated the situation, got to the head of Jawara, to the extent of Jawara could not believe any intelligence from these people. Now Jawara have even suspected, no, the security itself, my security advisors and everything else, I think they themselves are fighting each other. In order to convince Jawara that, look, we are not making this up. Do you know what they do? Yahya was brought in, cover of dark and a blanket over him, so that nobody else would know. Don't ask me how I know. And nobody else would know that he was going to inform. He's the one to say that we are going to bring you the person himself to tell it. Because he was pointing. Some of them realized. Some of them were lies, some were true. But I can say even most of them were lies. Because he was doing that to make because information is important. That's what turned up to the intelligence. For the intelligence to be corrupted so that the rearrangement of the security can serve its purpose in the future. And this is why it was easy for the coup d'etat to happen. Because everything was tribal alliance. Now they started picking officers. Yeah, he's a nephew of President Jawara. Let's give him this position. Oh no, he's a Wolof. Let's move him here. Oh, he's a Mandinka. Let's move it here. I'm not going to get into the individuals, but people that know. Or if you want to study it, go and look at who was where. 1994, who was where. People taken away from having responsibility with men, take them, next office, move them away from men because of, hey, then they will be able to overthrow. No, it was wrong. Most of it was lie from Yaya Jammeh. But because of the governance was collapsed, they don't trust each other. You see, if you want to control someone again, make them doubt themselves. Jawara, to the extent of he doubt the people around him. But again, it's not only that, other factors came in. And that's why the coup d'etat happened. I am not saying the coup d'etat is going to happen like that again. But I am saying that the insecurity we enjoy is because of lack of governance, failure of governance. And we can see this. We can see this. We can see the failure of governance here. Now we are relying on Senegal. If Senegal have engagements, Senegal have other things, other things happen, Senegal, they take out their troops. We are not ready. Because if you say, no, we are not ready, we are not ready. To the extent of, no, if ECOMOG will leave, the ECOMOG police are going to come into the Gambia. What are we? What are we? This is what the question we should ask. Then, if we learn a lesson, if we learn the lessons from 1994, we will avert a lot. But again, it's governance. We have to have security sector reforms. I am not advocating that, oh, we should just take ECOMOG and throw them out. No, that's irresponsible. But the government should be competent enough to ensure a review and do the security assessment and make sure that they are confident with their security reform. If not, why? Barrow should be able to say, why don't we have confidence in our security? He have a security advisor. You see, that's why when you put square pegs in round holes, this is what happened. We said it, I said it in the beginning. The people in position have no integrity, they have no knowledge, they have the wrong mindset. They will not. These people will not tell you the truth. That's what the mindset is all about. Even if they have the knowledge, they don't have the mindset, it's dangerous. They cannot do anything. They are there for themselves. And you have capable people that have been trained from different institutions, the best institutions in the world. What does that mean then? What's the point of sending all the soldiers to best institutions? You send in your contingent, you send a full 2 contingents in Turkey and train on counter-insurgency, train on as a quick reaction force. You are buying equipment. We spending millions to buy the ammo cars and other things to come in. What's that for? When we are not ready to govern ourselves, to take care of our security. You think economic presence is free? If I'm right, France is paying now. Now, France is paying for economic. You think France is going to pay for economic for nothing? They have an interest. That's why we should think about this. We should think about our interests. Nobody would give you meal free. Just as someone wrote about the sesame seeds and peanuts and this thing export to China. You see, when I was telling you that bridge you think China built for you was free, you remember your fish, now control of your exports and other things, your timber and other things. And again about this timber, the corruption is not only on the Gambian side. The corruption is on both sides, Senegal and Gambia. Let me make this clear. And if you go to Senegal, the people involved in the corruption in Senegal are people associated with the government, not the opposition, are associated with Macky Sall entrainment program. This is why it's not happening. It's just not about only rebels having weapons. It's more than that. It's corruption. That's why we should be very careful not to be pulled into this. Let's move on to something else. Let's move on to Gum Petroleum. To give you another example of the corruption. You see, and for the people, let me make this clear. I've looked at the story. There's so much coming on, and I don't have the capacity to do it. I look at the story about the central bank, $4 million. No, I think the headline was not right. $4 million is not missing at the central bank. No money is missing at the central bank concerning that report. That report is about Sal's Gambia or Sal's Nigeria. The Governor Kano, I think, I'm not sure, Abia State. He used to be governor of Abia State. He was the one owner of FIB Bank and Sal's Air and so on. Sal's Nigeria. Governor Kano was the owner of FIB. FIB run into operational problems. And there's a holding, an investment holding that come into have an agreement with FIB in order to help FIB to be liquid in order to get out of the problem. And during that process, the process went on. The holding company decided to use the liquid this thing and turn it into shares. It's all kind of financial politics. Turn it into shares, and by turning into shares, become the majority shareholder. And now what they do is to go and change the name to Vista Bank. Now, FIB is claiming that $4 million is owed to them. That's why I say we have to be very careful. The central bank did not do anything wrong. The picture of the lady put on there was wrong. She is just the managing director for Vista Bank or former FIB. But we should make this clear. No 4 million is missing anywhere. No 4 million is missing anywhere. Now a company, FIB, is claiming that they owe them, that Vista Bank owe them 4 million. The holding company that changed to Vista Bank owe them 4 million. They are claiming that lawyers play up with this, but the court decided, and now they claiming that the change of company name should not have happened. These are the things they're claiming. That's a different thing. That's why I don't want to spend my energy on it. This is two companies dealing with it. Let them sort it out there. I'm not there to do a PR for anybody. But because of I shared the story, I just put that clarification, and I'll try and write a post to make it clear for other people that have not watched this program to understand. But let's come to Gum Petroleum. You see the corruption, just as other corruption going on. And one thing about the Gum Petroleum corruption is directly to the president. And there's selective justice they want to do. They want to scapegoat the other people they allege to be part of it. And they want to protect the president and the other people. If the president comes out that he's going to fight corruption, he's lying. He's not fighting corruption. He's even dipping deep into it. That's why I want to say this. I have covered the entire, in fact, I brought out the story. They were going to hush it. And the magnitude of the story, again, they cannot hush it. It became clear that they cannot hush it. And now it's got to here. Now they're trying to manage it, and they're trying to put selective justice here. That's why I said, if you think that this corruption is isolated, there are so many corruption going on. Fertilizer, everything else. Everything this government does is on corruption. Kickbacks. You cannot go for anything with this government without paying bribes or kickbacks or doing things. That's why you have so many political operatives around the president. Gatekeepers. In order to have this money, this haram, this haram, this haram. And they call themselves Muslims, they build Jumas, or they call themselves Christians and other things. It's all about haram. Now, look at this Gum Petroleum report. I'm not going into the report, but let's just, I want to point out certain things. Why are they not arresting people? And these people, if you arrest, give you an example. If I am accused of stealing this mobile phone, But this mobile phone, I stole it. I did not keep it in my house to be found in my house. I stole this mobile phone and give it to someone to sell it, or I stole it to someone else. The person that received the mobile phone should be arrested and investigated and prosecuted. But we cannot just say that 𝗵𝗁 is the one that gave the mobile phone. He has to be prosecuted. Allegedly gave the mobile phone, have to be prosecuted. That prosecution will not happen. And if it happens, it's not, if it's free and fair, that person will work. Because other people have to be brought in. But you know that those people to be brought in would ensure that nothing will come out of it. What they're doing now, what the government is doing now, they're making noise. They're making noise in order people to believe that they're fighting something. Because there's a vacuum in the government right now. You see that in fighting, I was telling you, that happened in 𝗪𝗯 time. That destabilized the governance, that's distracted the governance, that's ensured nothing was working. This is where we're facing now. The reason 𝗪𝗁 turned around to say that he's going to suspend his cabinet reshufflement, calling a caretaker government, he did not even, you see, subconsciously he used the word caretaker government, which is very serious. That indicates that he is in crisis, and it's true, he is in crisis. Because every Tom, Dick and Harry was promised that they will be ministers. Now, all these people don't want to be, they don't want to be protocols at embassy. They don't want to be, what do you call it, whatever positions in embassies, because they know it's not, there's no money in it. And most of these people fighting for this, they already have their family in America, England, or European countries. Now, the only lucrative thing about being a protocol officer from Gambia or one of the officers' staff is to have your wife and kids and smuggle some other family members to bring them as maid in order to make them settle in the European Union or in America. And these people have already done that. They want it to be lucrative. They want something lucrative. They want to be minister because they have seen being a minister what it does. Now, they understand that if they are not ministers, they don't want to be in the embassy, because if they're embassy, it's not lucrative. They're not going to get the money or the lifestyle they aspire for. They're not going to be relevant. People will forget about them. Now they want a job there that is lucrative, and the only place they can go is a political appointment, which is to be a minister. They cannot be managing directors. Yes, there are other people fighting for managing directors, the people that think that they have what it takes, because they have a master's producing or they have a bachelor's, they're fighting for managing directors and other things. But these other people that you don't need any qualification to be a minister, that's what they do. Now, they understand too that the little money they've been having it because of the campaign. It's campaign finance and funding. But after parliamentary, there will be no campaign. Technically, the local government is never that serious. Now, they're going to be 5 years without money flowing for any campaign. They cannot wait for that. It's not sustainable. Some of those people, Europe here and so on, they're not doing well. I have a saying in Wolof, ku gena fi jok rek dem sa umbala fa tuti. I don't know how to say it in Mandinka. And they don't want to. Now, because of this, 𝗪𝗁 is in crisis. People that want to be ambassador, it's only few embassies that is lucrative, and those people, there are many people fighting for that. Now they want to be ministers, they want to be vice president, they want to be other things. Now he realized that if he appoints the ministries now, what is going to happen? Now his campaign, he will have a problem. Now they are fighting against this, fighting against that. Now the same thing that happened during 𝗪𝗯 time, we all know it's nothing to do with tribe, but now it's taking a tribal angle. Oh, this is for the Sarahulas, this is for the Fulas, this is for Wabanjun, this is for the Wolof, this is for this is for that, this is for that. This is for NPP, this is for PPP, this is for APRC, this is for that, this is for that. This distracted. They were not doing, as I said, people going for these leaderships, going about, it's not about bringing out the best out of that country. It's about corruption, and it ended up being about incompetency and the governance fail, insecurity, and so. That is where the program is. Now look at Gum Petroleum. Now what has happened, in a nutshell, is petrol went missing from the petrol tanks. That's for certain. That petrol was owned by international companies. About 4 different companies owned that petrol. Now the government technically owned Gum Petroleum, because not shareholders own Gulf Petroleum, not government. But funny enough, government have powers in appointing the person who runs Gulf Petroleum. And the board members are made of people appointed by government because of they are members, MDs and permanent secretaries or something from ministries. You see, technically government operates it. This is what happened with Gulf Petroleum. Now, the board members, the managing director, deputy managing director are appointed by government. This is funny. Gambia, this is very funny. When the company is owned by shareholders. Now, the shareholders that own the thing, Social Security, Port Authority, and other people, and Star Oil. I'll get to Star Oil. There's a big secret on Star Oil. They own the shareholding for the Gulf Petroleum depot. Now it's managed in that way. Now what Gulf Petroleum do? They give services to store the petrol, manage the petrol. When you need your petrol, they give it to you. Obviously, you pay for the services and so on. But Gulf Petroleum doesn't own any petrol. Now, Gulf Petroleum, and it happened to a time before elections. Oil prices was going up. Government did not want those prices to reflect in the pump. You know, this is world oil price are going up. Now, because if it goes up, the domestic price will go up, which is the fact. But government don't want prices to go up because of what is election time, October, remember. Now government put in a mechanism trying to tell what we call the oil marketing companies, OMCs, I think OMCs. This is petrol companies in the Gambia that sell oil. And listen, want to take the price. Obviously, these people are not happy. They're doing this business for profit. It's not sustainable for them to do that. Now, they are blaming some oil companies that they created the problem because they told the suppliers not to supply. That's right, because they cannot supply if the prices are determined by government. The suppliers did not supply. Now, the government was expecting that there is enough fuel in the depot that will last after the elections, then prices can go up and people forget about it. But what this government knew, or they don't know, or whatever happened, oil was not in it. There's no reserves. The petrol that was in there was given to people to sell, to return the money. Now petrol owned by this company was given out. But when they give the petrol out, the oil price went up. You know, oil prices goes up by even $1 or $2. Now, if something was 500,000, if the money was, you are taking about $500,000, I mean, $1 million, 200, that's easy. And the price is not waiting for you. Now, if you want to replace the petrol, the price you took the petrol for, now the price is gone up. Now you haven't got the money to return the petrol. Either you return the stock or return the money equivalent to the market price at present. That's where the problem comes in. You know, sul buki suli buki muneka gainde. This is what happened. Now, when this thing happened, they want to access their petrol. This is now, oil marketing company want to access petrol based on the transaction they have with the companies that import the petrol. They went there, the excuse was given that there's a problem with the pumps. You see, if the petrol was allowed to come in, nobody would have found out that this deal was going on. But because of there's no petrol coming in, now only thing that's left would be the stock. There's no stock. Now the management have a problem to explain the problem. Now what they say, there's no, there's a problem with the pumps. 1 day, 2 days, people suspect, no, there's more to this. That's when they reported the matter to Pura and other people and went and inspected the tanks and find out the tanks were empty. One only got water and mixture of petrol. But that's not the end of it. During the time of that investigation, some of the people that took petrol wanted to refund some of the stock. And one of that person was 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃 𝗍𝗏. And who is 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃 𝗍𝗏? We know. But not only 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃 𝗍𝗏, there's another gentleman called 𝗙𝗵. 𝗙𝗵 is son of 𝗑𝗏 𝗍𝗏. I normally forget his real name. Someone might know him. He have a company called, he's running one of the companies. 𝗙𝗵 too have, different people have negative stock. They're taking petrol, and because the system they do allow, let me say this again, the management of the petroleum industry do allow, if you are expecting stock within a reasonable time and you have proof of that, they can let you take petrol for the stock to be returned when your stock arrives. This arrangement do go on. It's allowed in their protocol. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong is when you take petrol without having stock to come in, and you have not gone through the owner of the petrol to pay them to give you petrol. You cannot take someone's petrol and sell it and make profit, and the person was not aware. It's wrong. This is where the theft is. You see the corruption that ends up. But why am I saying the president is part of it? That's where I'm coming from. Now, all the oil marketing companies that have problem with this negative stock are linked to the president. They are friends to the president. They support the president by politics. Through Moussa Dramé. Moussa Dramé is the treasurer for the NPP. They do give donations to the NPP by giving it to the treasurer. They do give money directly to the first lady. They do give money directly to the president. This is a fact. These oil marketing companies. That's why in the report, the interim report they produce, they have not named the people, the entire people responsible for this theft or corruption. Now, the other angle is, there's a company called GNPC, Gambia Petroleum, National Petroleum Company or something like that. That company was the only company that Yahya Jammeh have created. Only company. This GNPC are into the business of oil marketing. They have the petrol station and so on. The GNPC was dealing with petrol and everything without having partnership. Now, so all of a sudden, before elections, 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃 𝗍𝗏 went and acquired a license. Now we know that 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗍𝗏 acquired the license with fake documents. 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗍𝗏 acquired a license with fake documents. He did not have the capacity, the money capacity, because of the only property that he had to put to the bank. This Vista Bank did not want to reduce the estimate of the worth of this thing. He could not raise the money. And he took petrol. 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗍𝗏 took petrol. He could not raise the money. One, he got a license. He did not have the capacity, the money. Two, he did not have the expertise. He doesn't have what it takes to run a company of this thing. But he was registered. But not only that, GNPC gave him a contract. Why give him a contract? When all these years, since Yahya Jammeh time, you are standing alone doing your job properly. Now, another thing we find out, the GNPC chairman, who is a friend to President Barrow, since before he became a president, called Jigo, was 𝗍𝗏 Jigo. 𝗍𝗏 Jigo, the chairman of GNPC, colluded in this. He's part of this deal. Because, and again, allegations are from 𝗪𝗃 𝗪𝗃 that the money came from her apparently, even that 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗃 used to go and buy some ships during ram or ships during the Tobaski and give it to Jigo. That's bribery. Now the decisions that Jigo take as a chairman and the board and probably other board members were part of it. Now you see the corruption, and this is Jigo. Jigo is President Barrow business partner, and President Barrow's friend. I'll come to the next page. Now, Ababakar get involved here. Now, Ababakar was trying to reform part of the petrol, and there's he get mucky. That's where that $1 million comes from. Between Ababakar now and 𝗪𝗪 𝗁𝗂𝗍, that Ababakar took that to the courts. Now, 𝗪𝗪 𝗁𝗂𝗍 came with allegations about the how everything transpired. When that was published, we knew that Ababakar sent a delegation try to see how to fix these things. I'm not sure whether they fix it or not, whether the court case is going to go through or not. That's why I'm saying that, because there's so much implications, things might not come to this thing. This government is poor in doing things. They are corrupt, they are incompetent, and they are part of the problem. That's another angle. Now, another problem we have here now is Gum Petroleum being a part of the problem. Nepotism is ensuing here again. In 2020, I believe, there's a gentleman by 𝗪𝗀 𝗪𝗀. 𝗪𝗀 𝗪𝗀 got appointed as the deputy managing director for Gum Petroleum. He's a friend of Barrow, and some people are saying he's a flatmate of Barrow. I know that 𝗪𝗀 was in East London, Barrow was in London. Whether they were flatmates in East London or in Gambia, I don't know. But definitely, I have proof, people that know said definitely they are good friends before Barrow became a president, and they're still friends. And he got that job because of being a nepotism, Barrow's friend, and deputy. He became the deputy managing director for Gum Petroleum. Now, he was there when the decisions were taken as a member of management, second in command, when the chairman and the Gum Petroleum took the decision to give a contract to Ababakar Jawara, then he complicit and compromised in this corruption. Now that 𝗪𝗀 𝗪𝗀 is appointed as what the general manager for Gum Petroleum. Now, how do you expect justice to ensue? How do you expect to find out the truth? Now, President Barrow is appointing him again based on nepotism. Is he the best person? The best person would be someone, not only their education, their mindset. The mindset of this person have been proven as a deputy managing director. He knew about this thing. He did not resign. Not only that, someone who is not complicit in the problem. He was there when the problem is complicit. Gets a Gambian, a competent Gambian from anywhere else, but not complicit in this problem, to head the corporation. And again, should the president appoint the managing director? I don't think the president should, and I think the board should. I don't know how it works, and that thing needed to be looked into, and all these things. But I said, this is the failure we have. When president appoints anyone he wants, take out anyone he wants, it becomes too powerful, and that's what he does. But that's not the end of it. You see, that's why I said this corruption is going to continue, and nothing will come out of this corruption. Now, the other problem they have, and I'll tell you this, I know about this. Last Wednesday, the former managing director of Gum Petroleum. Now ask yourself, what is the status of the former managing director? Did the report tell you? No. The former managing director of Gum Petroleum and the stock controller, director of stocks, operational director, I forgot the name, Gazama or something like that, especially the managing director. Barrow sent a delegation to negotiate with the managing director. Now they are asking an amount of money for the managing director to pay so that they can bury the case. You see, because the problem they have now to bury this case is the money that they need to refund to the oil people, the companies that they own or the oil. Now they want this gentleman for 3 hours at the Inspector General office. 3 hours. He was not in the cells. They negotiated. They want him to sign a disciplinary letter. He refused. And he is still claiming his innocence. Let's make that clear. He's still claiming his innocence. He is not happy with the report, and he asked for a competent audit of the report, and he preferred to be taken to trial to prove his innocence. That's what he claimed. But why is that not happening? Because of Barrow and others don't want Ababakar. They don't want Kapi and other people, and the Gam Petroleum role they play, and Ababakar Jawara Jigo and the present managing director, the role they play in this, they don't want that to come out. And if you take this case, these people to court, these things have to be dealt with. They have to be dealt with. Now this is where the corruption is. And now this is undermining the trust we have in government, undermining every other sector. And everybody is doing as they wish, nothing comes out of it. Now this is bringing insecurity and is posing a threat to our national security. And with all the things coming, it all adds up. Let's come to another thing. Star Oil. The corruption of Barrow. This is direct to Barrow and the First Lady. Star Oil is owned by, they are Mauritanians, but they have a background of Senegalese background as well. Again, they own Star Oil. Star Oil, the shares of Star Oil was owned by Mohamed 𝗣cie. Now, when the commission and everything determined that shares were meant to be sold, Barrow ensured that shares was not sold to the other shareholders that were interested. Port Authority was interested, government, Social Security was interested in the shares. From nowhere, we saw the strangers come. Obviously facilitated by Macky Sall and his people through the First Lady to buy the shares. And I know even the other people, that the accountants that did the transactions. The president used his powers and directed. And there's certain things I don't want to talk about. Those people don't want to be brought into this. They are no more part of this. But they resisted. But the president sold the shares to Star Oil. But part of those shares sold to Star Oil is holding a percentage of shares for President Barrow and his wife. Star Oil shares, President Barrow is holding a percentage of shares for President Barrow. And now, Star Oil is, they are trying to dictate to get the person who is going to be appointed and might not be even a Gambian as the director of operations. They want to control the stock. Do you realize what is happening here? Now he got the managing director, a friend of his. The same thing Yahya Jammeh did. That's what he's trying to do. Now he got a shareholding company who is trying to bring in a stock controller. Because of Barrow knew that that's what 𝗣cie was doing for Yahya Jammeh. When that company, before 2017, the company running the company with 𝗣cie were doing the same thing with Yahya Jammeh, giving money to Yahya Jammeh. This is what Barrow is looking for. Now this corruption would end so. But again, let's come up another decision that shows the incompetence. We all saw the problem with salaries. We saw the problem with the salaries. Wait a minute. You know, we talked about the salaries. I mean, I saw an article today. What happened is, a few days ago, very senior staff members of the Gambia Armed Forces got in touch. Because we all speak, I mean, we are Gambians, we all support each other. And they related a problem to me. And the next, we talked about it. Oh, I don't think they will do this. I never believe it's going to happen. Because it's ridiculous, it's stupid. Now, when the phony incident happened, I sent a text to one of them. I said, text, oh, I mean, no, he actually texted me to see how you doing. And I thought he wanted to open up. I said to him, how are you guys doing with the phony incident? And that's the reply. And I shared this. And he said, well, no one is talking about that now. Just imagine, it's very senior staff. Said they are not talking about the phony incident now. What they have done is worse now. From the top to the last soldier in the army, our house allowance is stopped effectively from this month. Ben, with all honesty, everyone's morale is zero. These people are joking with our livelihood, and if things explode, it's a recipe for disaster sooner or later. This is from a distance. I did not share this. I refrained, and what I did is a different thing. But this morning, it came out from Watson Gambia, saying that from a soldier, we are having salary issues. They deducted our salaries this month without informing us. This is very unfamiliar, and we would appreciate if you could investigate what happened. All of us are affected, from the officers to the men. We are appealing to the authorities to give us back our money as soon as possible. We have been disregarded and disrespected for 5 years, and now they want to take from our small salaries. The soldiers are not happy. That's what was on Gambia Road. And you know why they are approaching what's on Gambia, approaching me and others? Because the press in the Gambia is compromised. It's part of the corruption. It's part of the incompetency. It's compromised. Now here, this is serious. But I did not just post this. And after that, I went back to another staff officer, not the same person who spoke to me. And I asked him, what is this? I shared this information. The staff officer don't know each other that I'm talking to all of them. I said, well, what's happened to this? I got this information from someone, staff officer, and I got this from Watson Gambia. And he sent me a message to say, it's all true. Actually, professional allowances have been cut. Not only, and some graduate allowances, apparently some people, graduates, are paid $1,000 for graduate allowance or professional allowance, are cut. And this is a lot of money, and without notice. But not only that, he explained to me, it is not an error. Why he said it's not an error? I'll explain that first. When I saw the permanent PMO, I shared the letter with PMO with him. He said, PMO wrote, Report of the Gambia, permanent Personnel Management Office. This office wishes to bring to the attention of all concerned institutions that due to some reform measures being taken in rationalized and standardized allowance across the civil service, some input errors have been reported, resulting in reduction in total earning of some staff. This anomaly is being sorted in collaboration with the affected cadres. We apologize. That's a lie. When I read it, I know it's a lie. But I still share to be educated by people who are concerned. When I sent this, he said to me, the guy first said, these people are just incompetent. They should be severely reprimanded to avoid the recurrent. I said to him, it does not make sense to make this error. It's a systematic failure, not an error. That's why I said. And he came back on me to say it's not an error at all, as we warned them about the dangers. But one Sirif Jallo and one Musa Cham are the one responsible for this whole mess. These are permanent people from the Personnel Management Office. He said you can quote them as they were very arrogant when we warned them against taking such a bad decision. A decision was taken. Okay. Now, you all heard the names and you can verify. Now, why did I say it wasn't an error? And they said some. This is not some. The entire officers and men are deducted. The error, they said that they were working on standardizing the allowances. They were not working on deducting the allowances, standardizing it on what? To increase it towards the measures. Is there any measure to decrease the allowances? No. In fact, the allowances are meant to be increased. But the error did not ensure that people get their allowances higher. But the allowances got cut off. You see, what might have happened here? When they were doing this, they're expecting to get away with it. What we have to ask ourselves, I don't have the answers. Gambians should ask themselves. The opposition should come and ask government. Parliament should ask government and ask the Minister of Finance, ask the PMO, what's happening here? Why these deductions? This is not an error. It's a systematic failure, or it's a deliberate. This was systematic. An error would have just affected few. But apparently it's not only even soldiers, but others. Does this have something to do with the anticipated salary increase? This is the reason why they said the increase of salary will be in July? What are they playing with? I don't have the answers, but these are the answers we expect from them. How did this error occur? What are you standardizing? Because I am not an accountant, but the little money I have, I understand how to take care of that. If you put in figures, and the difference, you see the difference. From last month, what you posted to be paid as salary, and you have millions missing, because it would turn to millions figure, something is wrong. Not only that, according to the staff officer, they did highlight. When they saw the issue, they said, look, this is not right, don't do it. Don't take this decision. He said these two people were arrogant. They didn't listen. But again, if you were alerted by a problem, before the problem get to the people, why did you not write this letter? Why didn't you not communicate to say that it's kind of a bit late to stop the payments? Because stopping the payments would be worst. But these things is been ratified. But you will some of you will get your payment and you'll be short of certain amount. But you reassure that this money will be gotten. Nobody would have talked about this. The soldiers would have known that the money is not coming. Just imagine going to the bank, expecting your salary, and $1,000 is $2,000, $500 is missing. It's a lot of money for them. Now, what you going to talk about? Your rent allowance is gone. What you going to talk? How are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to talk about the rent? Well, $1,000 is gone. How are you going to buy that rice? When is going to be resolved? These things are going to these things, and you know this. And what you hear from this language, they are disgruntled. Why are they disgruntled? They feel disrespect, disregarded. For 5 years, that's what they said. You know, and the mission trip with economic and every other thing coming is posing a threat to our national security. Guys, this is where the program is going to finish. Those that came late, take your time and listen to the program from the beginning so that you can get the entire feel of the program. As I said, I'm so tired to go back and recap, but it's about the incompetence and corruption. And I have used history of the Gambia itself to give reference to what might happen, what's going to happen. And I'll tell you, I know there are idiots out there. That's when I speak about these things and caveat it, I do it just to be responsible, to do a disclaimer. And they think when we take these things, we take it lightly. This is not about politics. This is about the livelihood of people. This is about the country. This is about the existence of our republic. This is about our sovereignty. And let nobody have an opinion different from me, or think that you can undermine my opinion or silence me to talk about issues. Nobody can. And these opinions I hold, I didn't hold them based on prejudice, based on ignorance. These are well-informed opinions. not only my experience, my expertise, or my little bit of knowledge I seek, I am inspired to learn about this history. Some of it I was there, and I had responsibility then to find out about this. I can give reference to where I was when some of these things happened, why I was there, what I was doing, why I know about these things. As an intelligence officer, I had to move. Not even I was moved. I had to move from Kuda. When I was sent to 𝗵𝗱, every posting, I can tell you the reason why I was part of that posting. When I was posted for 𝗵𝗱, at that time, was to the training wing. Yes, as an instructor. I was not there as an instructor alone. That was the first time Gambia Armed Forces to fully take charge, control of the training of their soldiers. The British Army training team that I was recruited to work with them, work for them as a strategic intelligence officer, ensured that I was deployed part of the training wing in order to be there to observe and report and give intelligence on how things are developing, in order for the advisors, which is the British Army training team, especially the person in charge, Colonel South, to inform the authorities, to inform them on what they need and how to develop things. That's why I was there. And I can give reference. He was a staff sergeant, or a staff sergeant 𝗵𝗶, who later became Captain 𝗵𝗶. At that time, I was working in 𝗵𝗱, in Kudang. I was in Kudang, aside in Kudang for something else. 𝗵𝗶 met me I was in Yundum on a mission. I came to give report in Yundum. And he saw me. I came from the back office, and he was coming from the commander's office, and he ran to me. And he said, he said to me, we need you at this thing. What informed him, I later know. That's how I was there. When I was in Kudang during the Confederation, the reason I went to the Confederation, again, in order to get me into the Confederation, the metrics that was used to select the soldiers was amended for me to be qualified. Then they instilled a metrics that was counting the odd numbers. Then my regimental number was 0661. Then 61 was taken, 62 was dropped, 63 was taken, 64 was dropped, 65 was taken. That's the way it was selected. I was the first selected by 61 to be deployed to this thing. I was taken there not as an infantry soldier alone, for a purpose. Obviously, they could not determine where I was posted. I was posted at Kudang. When there was a need for what I need to do to be at the headquarters, because my mission was what? Again, to understand the confederal relationship between these Gambian soldiers and Senegalese. And this cannot be done away. Yes, there was a part of that in Kudang, but the main part was at the headquarters. And I had to devise how to be moved from Kudang to Bakau. That's part of what we are trained to do. And that ensured. And I stayed in Bakau until the night that Senegalese pulled out. It was anticipated. The British knew that it was coming. It was anticipated. We were reporting on developments, the mission script and other things. That's where my knowledge came from. And reporting on the mission scripts and other things. And until the night it fell. Going back to Yundum and moving on to other things. When I was going to Liberia, just give you an example again, going to Liberia. The section I was, most people were surprised. At that time, the Gambia does not have a mortar section. They don't have a mortar. We don't have a mortar. The mortar came after. But the people in charge was the British Army training team. And before that, we had a counter-insurgency training, the first of that kind, run by the British Army training team, 𝗪𝗱 𝗪𝗱 and Colonel Sau, and officers and men, even police officers were there, double PCs were there. And this is very important, in fact, for me to touch. They were there in this counter, this thing, because police were represented in the training. With everything else, the training, and everything. There's a purpose I was in the training. Again, I had to be moved from a company that was not part of the training to be in that company. There's a way it was done, so that I'll be there. Because I needed to receive the training, and I needed to be there. We received the training, and what that training, part of it was where we were operating. And in the anticipation of what happened the other day, how do we, Gambia Armed Forces, take care of our frontiers, our borders with customers? That was the training. Go and find out the people that did the training. And 1990, I think. It is 88, 89. God, since then, we anticipated these problems. People in Gunjur can remember when the army came and based between Gunjur and Sifo. We patrol, we mount our checkpoints. We did everything from Gunjur to God knows. Dasilame and all those places. Kartong, all those places we went through. We did exercises, we did checkpoints, we did different things. We did coding and side, we did, everything else. Because we were anticipating these things to happen. We have to know what to do. That's why we understand about insurgencies and counter-insurgency trainings and so on. Actually, it was time of the Gulf War, I can remember. Yeah, Gulf War was going on when we were camped there. Very realistic. The other things, other places, this is what it is. And when we come out here, it's not about politics. We are concerned. We have concerns. And this is the little that we can do for our country, is to have a conversation among ourselves. That's why when I say this, let us not take our emotions on political feelings, our parties or whatever. Let us take emotions from tribe or anything. Let us take emotions from region or anything. We should be very careful. These issues, we can be nationalistic, but let us not base on being sensitive, nationalistic about doing the right thing for people and country. Let's base it on information. Let's stand up with the rebels are not our allies. We like it or not, Senegal is our ally. It's a sovereign nation next to us. We have a lot in common. We have to be together. We have to protect each other. We have to cooperate. Destabilization is Gambia cannot be insulated away from that. Then our security have a role to play. But what role do we play have to be defined by our national interests. The logging and other criminal activities is not to our interests. This is what we are talking about. These are the conversations we should have. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good night. Thank you.